Good morning, everyone. Hoping everyone enjoyed the opening remarks and morning keynote. My name is Minerva Lee. I use she, her pronouns. I am an education administrator with UCSF's Institute for Global Health Sciences at Mission Bay, and I am your moderator this session. I have the pleasure of welcoming everyone to Mastering Transferable Skills for a Diverse Career Landscape, presented by Jolie Lamb, Phyllis Lin, and Harumi Quinones, Austria. Our tech support specialist for this session is Jen De Los Santos, who is an events and venues manager with Berkeley Event Services. With that, I'm happy to introduce you to our three presenters. Jolie Lamb is the manager of the Surgical Robotics and Digital Health Program at Citrus and the Banatao Institute. Before joining Citrus, she was a programmatic officer for the Foundations of Machine Learning program with the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences. Prior to that, she previously worked as an academic officer for the UC Berkeley Big Data Innovation Research Center at the School of Social Welfare. Phyllis Lin is a UC Berkeley economics graduate and currently works as a research data analyst at Citrus Health. Her proactive approach to research has led her to assist a business school professor and participate in investment clubs, fueling her research interests. 2 banking internships have exposed her to the finance world, and the summer she spent at Credit Suisse Equity Research and Citigroup Investment Banking solidified her passion for healthcare research. Harumi is the Director of Student Services in the Department of Psychology. An alumna with over 20 years serving the Berkeley campus, she focuses on 3 main efforts at work: inspiring her team, effectively managing resources to support her department while developing and supporting community, and participating in campus-wide efforts making a difference in diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and justice. She currently serves on the AMP Management Council, BSA's Program and Events Committee, and the Chancellor's Advisory Committee for Student Mental Health. Most recently, Harumi was honored to have been selected for recognition with 2 campus awards, the 2024 Social Sciences Distinguished Service Award and the 2024 Chancellor's Outstanding Staff Award. On screen, you'll see today's agenda. Jolie will start with the introduction. Then there'll be the independent thinking and communication portion presented by Phyllis, followed by communication and management with Harumi. Thanks everyone for being here. Over to you, Jolie.
Oh, hi, so excited to see everyone here. And then I do see some familiar faces. And so welcome. And let me start with learning objectives. And you probably already read the website and kind of get a description of our presentation. So just want to remind you that we would like to take with you today is how to develop your independent thinking skill in a team, and how to build a problem-solving or solution-oriented mindset. And of course, how to enhance our effective communication skills also in a work setting in a team. All right. So I'm responsible for introducing what are transferable skills. So you probably heard a lot about it. And do I have it? Do I not having it? Or how could I get it? So I find a 1-sentence simple definition if anyone's looking for it. So we'll say they are the abilities, capabilities, or competencies that can be applied to various roles and industry. And that definition said industry, but we are in academic, so it also apply to education, environment, and NGO, not-for-profit or government setting. That would be awesome. And as you can see from our learning objective, we highlighted communication skill, people management and team leadership skills, and also critical thinking skills are also kind of like across the industry. So I have some link here, resources that I want to share with you and highlight for you. The second bullet is, as you know, People and Culture has great, fantastic resources. And you probably already know this. And they do have suggested, have a library in different categories. What are transferable skills? So let me take you in there now. Let me know if you can see it. Right. So this is the table. Again, you have the slides. The slides is uploaded and already shared with you on the Now Conference website. And if you go down, they have 7 categories. Kind of looks like our Achieve Together, doesn't it? Just categorizing differently. So today we talking more about right here, critical thinking skill, independent thinking skill in a team. And also down here, decision making. So how you think, how the team think can help problem solving and making decision. Bless you. And then leadership skills. And if you look down there, another categories, people management skills, supervising skills. So these are what we're trying to share with you with the experience. And let's see. So please feel free to go in, and that's project management skill. I rely on that a lot because I'm a project manager right now. So that's the library for you. Okay. And this, again, the link is already slide share with you. So you basically more or less they're the same, the industry, what they're looking for. And then now, okay, so yeah, now we know what they are, but how do you know, what do you think that is it what I have right now, or if people management skill or problem solving skill, you think you have it, but is there any other way you can go in strengthen it, improve it? You already had it. So I have another reference link here right now that you can also go in later on. The work styles and personality assessment test. And again, I couldn't give enough credit to our People and Culture colleagues. They have different type of workshops. So please feel free to check it out. I mentioned that also like 2 years ago when I presented a Now conference. They have DISC, D-I-S-C work style workshop. And then they have the work style and the personality, which is the Maya Bridge. Then that one's awesome too. So it's just telling you your personality that that you can find the transferable skill that you would like to get based on your personality, based on your experience, present experience, or on the next job that you want to get, that what they looking for. So with that being said, why don't we do a pool? I have 3 questions. We have scenarios that Jen's going to pull up for you. And please read it over. And I want to see what you think, or what do you usually do in this different situation. So I have 3 questions. Can everyone see the pool right here? Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know. So would you like me to read it over, or you want to do it yourself? How about I start off, you can go ahead, take your time to read it, and let's say 2 minutes, then I check in again. All right, does everyone see the pool result on the screen? All right, let me take awesome. Okay, let me take a few minutes to go through that. So question number 1, I've been attending the manager forum every month. And then of course our colleagues been talking about introducing or encouraging the use of ChatGPT or other AI tools to us. And so I just thought this would be a good chance to also gauge your thinking about it. So we got 78 response for C. So invest time in understanding the capacity of ChatGPT, okay, and other AI tools. Participate in training session, incorporate these techniques to improve team efficiency and decision making. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone want to share about what they think about this question. What are we trying to access here as far as like skill, your skill or IT skill or transferable skill, or any idea? All right. So this is actually, I would say it's in the adaptability, because this is something new to all of us. And when that's a 78% of you saying that, including me, I don't know much about how I can apply ChatGPT in there. And it does take time to learn something new. And myself and for my team, and how does it affect our team, or is it make it more time consuming, or more efficient, more streamlining? So yes, so it is something it's about talking about adaptability, how we can adapt to a new idea, changes, policy, or new team in new environment. Very good. All right, so let's go to number 2. Awesome. So you say when tasked with development and new program, okay, then most of you, wow, actually, yeah, quite a lot of you, 93%, you say research current trend in student engagement, seek input from colleagues and develop a unique program, cater or customize to UC Berkeley needs. Wonderful. Very good. Very good. So this is actually, we want to see your people management skill and leadership skill in the group, in your team. So again, Harumi will talk more about that with her, share with you her experience. And she's fantastic. I learned a lot from her. And she, if not been mentioned yet, and she's the outstanding staff. She got one, she's one of the outstanding staff, received the one award from the vice chancellor at UCB. All right, number 3. So we're talking about, again, wow, awesome. You're all amazing, you know that. So number C, you 98% organize a department meeting to openly discuss the changes, listen to teams members' concern, and work together to find a way to support the team. Problem solving skill, and we want to assess your problem solving skill and communication skill, and you all do wonderfully. So our other colleague Phyllis, and which I'm going to introduce next, she will be the one talk more into her perspective of how do you communicate your ideas, your critical thinking independence, and help the team to solve the problem together. Awesome. Thank you for participating in the poll. And again, I'll copy and paste the question again in the chat room for a few of you couldn't access the poll link. All right. Let me see. Let me go back to if I missed anything. So again, that's why we're all here, right? That's why we're all in this section. That's why we're all here today at the Now conference, because you want to find the next opportunity at your work, NOW. So please remember, we're sharing with you just 3 top skills we think is important for you as a transferable skill in different environment. But it is up to you. How do you want to consider your strength? Is this skill is already your strength? And then if you want to improve it, find areas you want to improve it, then how? You will have to have your learning goal, objective, set your goal, and then you will have to follow it step by step. And again, for me, I would also say that adaptability, being flexible to adapt change, to have that mindset is also important. All right, with that, I would like to introduce Phyllis to you, that she will talk about her experience in independent thinking skill. Please, Phyllis.
Yeah. So thank you, Jolie, for all the introduction and overview, and hi, everyone. So today I will tell you a personal story about a common challenge at work, which is moving from just doing tasks to thinking independently. This change is important for our professional growth and can significantly affect our career. So next slide, please. Yeah, so let's start with a story from a friend of mine. She had to make a PowerPoint presentation based on detailed diagram given by her manager. She followed the instruction exactly, but her manager was not happy with the final result, and she was super frustrated because she didn't understand what she did wrong after just following the direction so closely. And this story just reminds me of a similar experience I had at BCG, which is a consulting firm. I followed the specific instructions from my project manager exactly without adding any personal ideas or creativity. And when the project was reviewed, I was actually criticized for not showing initiative and for not thinking independently. It was a tough moment for me, for sure, but it was also a turning point. So after this, a senior colleague actually noticed my difficulty and she gave me some valuable advice. She said something like, "You are not just someone who follow the orders, you are someone who think for yourself." This advice was mind-opening because it points out an important difference that like many of us can miss at work. We often think of ourselves as just following the orders to make our manager happy, but the real value comes from being able to think independently, which takes both skills and also courage. And in today's workplace, it's easy to just follow instruction because it makes everything much easier. Doing so often gets quick approval from our manager. However, thinking independently is much harder. It means questioning things, suggesting new ideas, and sometimes we even need to face criticism to innovate. So this change is not just about skills, it's also about having the courage to support your ideas. And next slide, please. Yeah, so over time, I have come up with a formula to explain why people often become just a mere executor. So it comes from like idea dependency, unclear communication, lack of solutions, and which equals thinking pacifier. Let's look more closely at each of these elements. So the first one is idea dependency. In the consulting and today's like finance industry, I initially believed that those in the higher position knew more than I did, and I relied heavily on their ideas. However, the truth is that everyone in this kind of industry, they use logical reasoning to solve problems. Consultants or financial analysts, especially, are on the front line and they should use their unique perspective to think independently. And then the second one is unclear communication. So effective communication with leader is very important. It's not enough to just receive instructions. You must also actively engage, ask questions, and seek feedback. Avoiding just have excuse after the fact is very important. I remember a project where I didn't communicate my concern upfront, and this led to a second round of revision, making the process even much more complicated and time consuming. So timely feedback and clear communication can actually prevent these kind of issues and create more like productive working relationship for us. Next slide, please. Thank you. The third one is lack of solutions. So presenting even imperfect solution is essential because it's the start point for problem solving. Offering solutions shows initiatives and help build trust and recognition within the team. So for example, during a like critical phase of a project, I actually took the risk of presenting a rough solution. It's not even half done. It just like some initial thinking. Although it was imperfect, it sparked a discussion that led to a better and more effective approach for everyone to actually like later they can improve for the for the problem solving. So true growth comes from letting go of vanity and facing our mistake. In my journey, I have learned that acknowledging errors and learn from them is far more valuable than just pretending to be perfect. And in conclusion, moving from just being an educator to an independent thinker is challenging, but also very rewarding. It takes skills, courage, effective communication, and the willingness to propose solutions. I hope my experience and insights can help you to handle workplace challenge with more ease and confidence. And remember, you are not just an executor, you are also an independent thinker. And next slide, please. So now we will have a breakout room session for 7 minutes. Let's talk about how we can improve as an independent thinker and tackle workplace challenge. So, yeah.
I'm not sure if Phyllis is stuck in a room, but that was really short. I know people just had a few minutes to introduce themselves and share a few things. Would anyone like to share something out to the larger group that they heard that they're like, that is something I'm gonna follow up on?
Yeah, Phyllis, what do you think? Phyllis, right here, I can see her. Thanks
Yeah,
for.
I'm here. So yeah, we have sometime we have three or about 3 minutes here. Welcome everyone to like share any of their thinkings, and yeah, we can discuss here or ask any question.
I can share a little bit about what my breakout room talked about. It was interesting because we were talking about, obviously, like, I think all of us, I think, recognize the value of independent thinking and how it can happen or be manifested. But we were also talking about the challenges of, like, once you have that creative thought, applying that and making sure, like, I heard someone in our group talking about, like, not wanting to be kind of independently siloed or like spinning our wheels independently of one another. So, like, making sure that your independent thinking is in concourse with, like, everyone else's. Like, you're just doing things more together and also applying your thoughts to action.
And anyone else like to share some of the topic or some of the idea you discuss in your breakout room?
One of the people in my breakout room was talking about how if it's encouraged, right? Like if independent thinking is encouraged in the workplace, or if it's just kind of like stomped out. And then we also mentioned how at one of the previous sessions, they were talking about feedback and how you give feedback and receive feedback. I think that has a lot to do with if it's going to foster independent thinking or not, because if you work like in an environment where things are already in set place and your independent thinking is not as appreciated, just depending on also like your work culture.
Yeah, the environment definitely can make some impact. We might have time to take one more and then. Okay, then probably we can next Harumi will talk about communication and people management. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Phyllis. So like Phyllis, I'm going to share a couple of stories, and mostly they focus on communication. That's one of the things that Phyllis had just mentioned in terms of maintaining communication and asking questions. And I think that's really important to maintain good communication. The other thing we'll talk about is a little bit about imperfect solutions as a starting point. And, you know, something that most of you heard this morning from Gorik's talk about planting the seeds. I love that quote that he said about the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today. And so I want you to keep that in mind as well. So some of the takeaways that you're going to get from my 2 stories are tailoring your message. So again, all about communication, tailoring your message. Who are you speaking to? What's going to click for them? Gathering your data, gathering your supporters, and considering your timing. And then in terms of those of you who are managers or who are looking to be managers in the future, really thinking about how to unify your team, how to address individual concerns. Everyone's different. They have different things that make them tick. They also have different things that are concerns to them. Leveraging your interests and not just yours, but your team members' interests and preferences. And then providing recognition, because everyone wants it in a different way, but it's important to recognize individual contributors and then the milestones that you as a team reach. So with that, we're going to go to the next slide. And I'm going to talk about one of my first challenges as a manager in the Department of Psychology. I've been in psychology now, I believe, 12 years. So it's been more than half of my time here at Cal. And one of the first challenges I had was we had 1.5 FTE dedicated to student advising in the undergraduate arena. Again, I'm in student services. And that was just not enough for, at the time, very growing major. And so we had about 800 students. So I was like, this is impossible for the team to handle. And I talked to my manager and I said, hey, I think we need more staff. But I want to hear first from you all what you think would be the right message to ask. And I have a short little poll here that, Jen, if you can pull up. Okay, so how might you target your message for more staff support? So I'd like you to pick one. You want to talk about it as a staff morale issue and concerns of burnout? Do you want to talk about it as a staff equity matter and concerns of overload on just a few team members? Student support matter, concerns of access to advising, or student equity issue and concerns of historically underserved populations being disproportionately affected by the lack of access? Okay, we're going to give that 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So let's end the poll. And looks like it's pretty even across. Probably the biggest one was student equity issues. This was a trick question for y'all. The reality was I actually used all of these to get support, but I used them with different folks. So with my supervisor, I talked about the morale issue and also the equity issue for staff. That didn't seem to be going very far. So I talked to the chair about, you know, access concerns for students in general. I then had an opportunity to work with the dean of undergrad students. And I was like, you know, this is really not just about support to students, but support to specific populations that need additional touches and who can't even get an appointment. And I think it was a combination of all of those things that helped, but didn't actually get me that staff person. There was a lot more that needed to happen. And this is where, again, some of the tools that were spoken about earlier really do make a difference. And so one of the things I want to talk about is tailoring your message. So the tailoring to who I'm talking to made a difference, but also it was what I said and how I said it. And so one of the things that I needed to do to weave in this case for support was to do some benchmarking. what is the case in other departments? What are the loads for the student advisors who are working with undergrads? What is the standard? NACADA, which is a professional organization of academic advisors, suggests that it's a caseload of 300 to 1. So I was able to use some of that language to further the dialogue. But there was still not enough. I needed to gather some hard data. As many of you who work in departments know, our faculty leadership, they are faculty, they're trained researchers. And so they really want hard data. And so I needed to pull together data, which I didn't have. Jolie, if you can go to the next slide. So one of the things that what I needed to do was to track data, but I couldn't just track data. I had to get my team on board to help with tracking the data. And so one of the first steps when we're talking about management and looking at team needs was developing a vision, mission, and goal for my team, right? Making sure that they were on board with this. And so one of the first things that I did with my team was we sat down, I think we took a day, like half a day, and we worked on what was important to us in our roles, what we thought should be part of student services, what should be separate. And we came up with the following mission for our team. Unlike the university mission, which is teaching, research, and service, we had a more specific one to our specific office, which was our mission is to support students with personal, academic, and professional development by empowering self-directed learning and informed decision-making through collaborative mentoring relationships, right? So it took us a while to craft that, but that was so important to really get the whole team on the same page so that we're all rowing in the same direction. And so once we were rowing in the same direction, I could make the ask, can you track data? Initially, the tracking of data, it's extra work for someone to make sure that they're tracking each time they meet with a student. It's extra work to ask students, hey, after we meet, can you fill out a survey? And there were some individual concerns about, like, are you gonna ding me for not meeting with enough students? Or am I gonna get dinged if I say something and the student is unhappy with me? And so that was another hump to come over. But again, communication was key, communicating with the team. This larger vision for us is we need more help. And the only way we can get more help is if we have hard data to show that we are doing the job well when we're meeting with individual students, but that we just cannot meet with enough students because there's 1.5 FTE assigned to meet with students. So it was getting folks on board to do those metrics. So we did weekly metrics just about how many emails we're answering, how many students we're meeting with. I was able to develop an undergraduate exit survey. So all graduating seniors, we put in some questions on how student services was doing. And we also did these appointment surveys. At the end of an appointment, we'd say, hey, there's a survey we'd like you to fill out to help us improve our services. And so that was how I started to collect the data. Again, the tailoring your message, what's in it for me? For the staff, there were some concerns on gathering these metrics, but they understood because we did all this teamwork together to see, like, this will actually help us give data so that our faculty leadership will consider the ask. Next slide, please. So I want to show you some of the data and of particular interest. I know it's like super hard to see. You can't actually read anything, but this 1, 2, 3, 4, the second from the bottom is a question that asked, overall, psychology student services provides excellent service. And then the red is strongly agree, blue is agree, purple is neutral. And you can see neutral is the largest for the second to last question. Green is disagree and pink is strongly disagree. So when I was able to gather exit survey data, and I think 2012 was the first one, but no, not 2014, actually, this was the first one, because it took me a year and a half to develop the survey. People were saying psychology student services, meh, it's not that great. However, if we looked at the actual survey on your right-hand side that you see, excuse me, what students were saying every time they met with an advisor. So our question 3 and 4 were, considering your experiences, indicate your level of agreement. The advisor listened well, made sure she or he understood my concerns and needs. And then question 4, they were knowledgeable about the major, the policies, requirements. And if you look here on our scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the strongly agree, every time my staff was meeting with students, the students were saying like, yeah, they're great. They're awesome. They're very close to 1, which is I strongly agree that they understood my concerns and my needs and that they were knowledgeable. The problem now is I could show that disconnect, that our advisors were really strong when they were able to meet students, but overall from kind of that left-hand survey, they're just like meh as for student services because most of the students couldn't come in and see us. Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide, please. Over time, I was able to gather more data. I was able to get a curriculum planner, so a scheduler, enrollment manager to take the load off so that we could have 2 full-time undergrad major advisors. Enrollments changed, dip, increase. In 2019, which is over here on the right, we started to note that, so this is the psych SSO emails is in the blue. If you're looking at the data on the right, emails were up to like 250 at a time. And so we also had to tweak what we were doing. But you will also see that in the yellow, the grad emails started to increase a lot more too. And then if you look on the left-hand side in fall of 2021, the yellow bar is still pretty high at certain times. The blue bar was more reasonable. It's still around 200, but now we had more staff there. So I was looking at, okay, now the undergrad side is staffed up. We need to staff up the grad side. Next slide, please. So here we go into a new challenge for me as a manager, but this is round 2. I've now been in the department a couple of years. I still need more staff. I need it over on the grad side. So I know a little better now, I think, but I still had some places where I could grow and develop. So the first question I want to ask y'all, because timing does make a difference, is what you think the best timing might be. So Jen, can you pull up our poll here? Okay, so what is the best time to ask for additional staff? Is it at the start of the fiscal year in July, shortly before the end of the fiscal year, start of the budgeting season, and every chance you get with leadership? And we'll give you 5 more seconds. Excuse me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so this was also kind of a trick question. I know a lot of you said every chance you get with leadership. That's not exactly true. Again, like Goran was saying this morning, you plant your seeds, but you don't want to, overwater them or, you just won't be heard, right? The idea will die on the vine if you overwater. So it's not quite every chance you get, but strategically. That was a trick question. Start of the budgeting season is actually a really good time to ask. But again, it's actually planting the seed before. So my ask for our grad advisor to get a second person, it actually was all of these. Well, not all, not, I shouldn't say all. The last one is a little overkill, but I asked at the start of the fiscal year saying like, hey, it's been really tough. I think we're going to need someone next year. I planted the seed. Shortly before the end of the fiscal year, I again prompted like, hey, you know, I know we talked about this last year. I know you've told me under no uncertain terms, there is no money. We can't do it. But I'm just telling you again, I really think we need to do this and we have to figure out a way to do it. And then at the start of the budgeting season, I asked again, but this time I did more than just ask. I considered what they needed to hear. I had been told all along, oh, we would give you someone else if we had money. There's no money. So this is where, again, what you heard from Phyllis earlier and Jolie earlier is the independent thinking. What can you do to make the ask a yes, right? If we know that budget is an issue, why don't you come in with the request and a solution to their budget problem? And so that solution to their budget problem was bring in money. Now we're an academic department. There's not a lot of revenue being made during the academic year, but in the summer, if you can enroll a lot of students in your summer courses, that brings in some revenue to your department. And so I am very fortunate that, like many folks, I listen to what people say. And this was a couple of years ago, but the head of summer sessions was saying, you know what? Summer minors, we think this is a great opportunity for departments to encourage more enrollment. Excuse me. And that was put out there. And I was like, well, how can we make this work? So it was playing the long game for that and saying like, what sort of program can we build that will have a draw? I knew there were a lot of students that wanted to get into the psychology major that were unable to do so. We didn't have a minor in the academic year, so why not create one in the summer? Our dean of summer sessions had said, well, you don't want something that's exactly the same as the academic year, or students won't take things in the summer. So you want to create something niche and unique. And I know there were a lot of students that are interested in clinical psychology. And I thought, okay, well, what if we were able to develop a clinical program? My degree was in linguistics and Japanese. I've learned everything about psychology being a staff member and reading and sometimes going to talks. And so that listening part of like, there's a demand I hear from students that want clinical classes. We offer some classes in the summer, some breadth classes to that aren't offered in the academic year, specifically in the clinical area. Maybe we can put together a program. Obviously, I'm not an academic, so I had to partner with a lot of people. Our clinical director was one. At one point, we were talking with the Ting Center and trying to see what might work as a partnership. Ultimately, we decided to offer our own program. I partnered with some of our faculty to develop courses, and we were able to package a clinical and counseling minor. And being able to do that meant that I had champions when I said, hey, we have this great minor that we can package and put out there, but you know what? We can't really do that. Student Services doesn't have enough staff to work on a minor, to support a minor. But here's what I project the revenue could be for this minor if we do get the support. Bringing the request and the solution in one made a difference. There was some, tweaking of needs there in terms of, I didn't get a full-time person initially. I was told, well, maybe you can get a half-time person. And then there were nerves and it was like, well, you can get 25% time. I was like, 25% time? How is someone going to manage this program at 25% time? So I had to get creative in thinking about things and move. Again, what I really wanted was a graduate student services advisor. So it wasn't really undergrad, but I was going to fund it through this new clinical and counseling program. So what I ended up doing was talking to individual team members, seeing what was of interest to them. One of my undergraduate majors shifted so she could do help on the grad side with grad admissions and do a little bit of her time on the minor. I put in a lot of effort on the minor, connecting with the faculty to develop courses, connecting with summer sessions to make sure it made sense. But at the end of the day, we were able to launch the minor. Year one went super well. We were like 1,000% over what I predicted in terms of enrollment and revenue. And so they said, okay, you can get 50% and then 100%. And so now I have 2 people, or I will have 2 people on the grad side, and I have 3 on the undergrad side, and we have a curriculum planner. And a lot of that was due to the hard work of my team, who was very sure to help track the data that we needed to track. Help from our vice chair and our chair who took a chance on what I had proposed and what we as a team were able to propose. And so if you could go to the last slide, please. In summary, because I know I'm a little over here, you know, the important thing when you are having an ask or you're having an idea that you want to see to come to fruition is really boils down to your communication, preparing your message, gathering your pertinent data, securing your champions. In this case, it was my vice chair and then chair, understanding your timing and planting your seeds early, right? Plant, water, sunlight, keep coming back to it. Deliver your message. And it's always great if you can deliver your needs and solution in one. And last but not least, managing your resources, unifying your team so that you have a united message, leveraging individual interests and preferences. We would not have been able to launch the clinical and counseling summer minor if the undergraduate major advisor didn't take a chance to work part-time on grad stuff and work part-time on that. So I'm so indebted to our major advisor. And finally, provide recognition. We have spot awards. Anyone can nominate anyone for spot awards. Nominate a team member, nominate a colleague. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate you hearing my stories of trying to get more support. And I'll pass it over to Minerva.
Thanks, Harumi. Thanks to you, Phyllis, Jolie, and Jen. Here, I'm going to summarize the key takeaways: developing independent thinking skills, building a solution-oriented mindset, enhancing communication effectiveness, continuous learning, adaptability, and innovation. And I wanted to call your attention to these additional resources on your screen. I am going to go ahead and stop this recording.